let's move away from that project for now. Again, that was Adrian Young, the American Negro. And we wanted to, because we just kind of brought him up, talk about Mavi and his much shorter project, an EP. It's like, what, 15, 20 minutes or so?
Yeah,
called
12 minutes on the money, I think.
12 minutes? Damn,
Maybe.
this thing. 14 minutes. 5
Maybe.
songs, 14 minutes. So,
Oh, yeah.
this is called End of the Earth. Again, it's an EP, 5 songs, 14 minutes, just came out.
Yeah.
Mavi, we have learned more about in the past year or two because of his Let the Sun Talk
Right.
album, which is also pretty short,
Yeah.
32 minutes, 13 songs. If you haven't heard that, it's also very good. But, you know, he's been coming along in the rise of the artists that he associates with, like Mike and Earl, kind of having come back into, you know, making more consistent music and things like that. So we talk about a lot of guys that are close to Mavi on this podcast.
Yeah.
So I assume, you know, most of y'all know about him and have heard his music. But so he's back. This first song is called Time Travel. And I would bring up first the album cover. Let's not forget to bring up the album cover because that is particularly dope to me. I used to read, I can't even remember what
where the sidewalk ends.
Where the sidewalk ends. There we go.
Yeah.
That's what this is referencing, the book cover, and Where the Sidewalk Ends is just a series of poems and short stories, I think.
Yeah.
It's something I haven't seen or read in a very, very long time, but the picture was instantaneously like recognizable, nostalgic.
Yeah.
I mean, brought it back like a real rush of nostalgia. So I definitely appreciated that because I almost had like an intense reaction to seeing the album cover. But I'm just assuming you guys liked it as well. But
Yeah,
I will ask.
I loved it. I loved it because, well, one, Where the Sidewalk Ends was like one of the first, I think, how I was like even introduced to poetry, I think.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So like seeing that, like, yeah, it was well, I love cover art. I live for cover art.
Yep.
I love that people put thought into it like that. But yeah, no, I loved this. I love this. It like I love when small projects like this feel like I like to consider them like concept albums, like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's concepts behind them that make them feel full.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not an album because of the length.
Yeah.
But like it has that.
Right. Even in
full
this
projectness
14-minute
of it.
project, like it
Right.
feels like there's a beginning, middle, and an end a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was, yeah. I love the way he raps. I love I'm also a big Earl fan, but I love, like, I used to call it like self-loathing raps, but like it's more like self-reflective. Like I'm able to talk about myself like this because I know myself so well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm able to address things like this because I know how I think. And like I love the way Time Travel, I love method, like Town Crier, I think is is that what it's called?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the last track on here, Town Crier.
Yeah, that one, like that one really resonates. Like I don't know, it just feels complete. Like that one really sent it home. But yeah, I love it.
It's actually been a while, maybe a year or more ago. I watched an interview with Mavi, and he kind of struck me as that person, exactly what you were saying, like that type of personality, like really sure of self, really seems like someone who spent plenty of time by themselves, enough to know themselves, and can really like expound upon that really quickly, whether it be in conversation or, you know, putting it into music and actually writing rhymes about it and exposing it that way. You know, he kind of has that very natural tendency to him. It feels like, just from a personality standpoint, and he clearly has a lot on his mind. I mean, we said this at the beginning of the show, but he fits a lot of content, a lot of thought, a lot of exposition into, you know, 14 minutes of music.
Right. It's funny because like what I liked about Earl's one of my favorite. Like, well, I'll say I don't go outside. What is it?
I don't like shit. I don't go outside.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite projects, mainly because of like how dark it feels and how Earl's expressing himself throughout, like very reflective of stuff, of course, very intimate lyrics, just kind of about his life. Like I love when people add like sound clips into their stuff. I think he had his grandma talking to him.
Yeah, he had a couple of clips in there. You're right.
Yeah.
One was I can't remember what hers was about.
Hers was like, I think he was like, she sent him like a plate. And she was like,
Oh, it was
I'm
like
gonna call you back again.
yeah, it was like a
I'm gonna let
voicemail.
you eat your food. And then another one was, I think like this older, like it was an older guy talking about having a gun on him
Yeah, gotta keep
because
it on
like
me.
I have to,
I gotta do
you
it.
know. And that's just the just the times it's one of those like clips that like it resonated because one like it's sad but it's funny.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like, well, these are the times we live in. Like this is where it's at. Like I don't want to keep this. Even at McDonald's, I got that thing because
yeah.
I
Even
can't
when you're
fight.
at
You know what I
McDonald's,
mean?
I
I'm
can't
getting
tussle.
old. Can't tussle. But
Gotta
nah,
give
like,
it to
was
him like
very
he gonna
good.
give it to me.
Exactly. But yeah, man, very reflective. I love raps like that.
Trent, you were kind of talking about like how he sort of expressed feeling like what it's like to live in a time right now. Very, very crazy last couple years that we've had. And when we heard Let the Sun Talk, I mean, we've been living in a crazy America all since forever. And especially since like, you know, the Trump presidency, right? This is obviously towards the end of it. And so a lot of that is still in play, but 2020 hasn't happened yet. And obviously we haven't gotten to this point of 2021. And so, you know, hearing him today, do you feel like you're, you know, kind of getting to know more about Mavi, or what did you peel out of it? Because you kind of brought it up in the last review.
I mean, I thought that I learned a lot about him on Let the Sun Talk. Just kind of as like where his mindset is, what his values are, like how he feels about like family and like your relationships and your relationship with yourself. I thought that that was all like pretty laid out on Let the Sun Talk, and I think on this is more of just like well, one, I think he expands on it. I think he kind of brings this into like let me find the more like let me find a little bit more of like a universal middle ground where like it's not just about the self, it's about like the commonalities of people. I thought that this had a little bit more of like a little bit more of like an air of like togetherness. I think the thing about Mavi is like I think he's really good at like descriptors. I think like
Yeah.
the way he delves into like a subject and the way he is able to rattle off all of these emotions and stuff regarding like one thing. It's like those freestyles, you know, that you, like
Yeah.
someone gives you a subject and you like it's always corny, but it's always like, oh, you got to rap about this subject. And
Yeah.
you just like rattling it off shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that, only he's like turning it up to 10 and it's like about some real shit.
And he's really
Yeah.
good
like,
at it, and he can prove a point too.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
He can spin words like that part where he's like cacophony, cocoon, cacao. You know,
Yeah.
you know, like so he can do shit like that, but it's still to serve like a real narrative and an emotional, you know, emotional phrasing and yeah, I agree. He's really good at that without just feeling like he's rapping just to rap.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and it's crazy too, because like I always think about, okay, like what albums or what projects do you feel like you learn the most about a rapper, you know, in? And sometimes it's well, I mean, in my experience, it's usually like the sophomore album where they talk about the things that they feel are important to them. And like I haven't listened to Dude this much, but like I can tell like he well, one, he's talking about his family. Well, one, he talked about a lot of past mistakes and how like he doesn't want to be that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he talked about like a lot of like just a lot of reflection and like
Yeah.
normally like this dude is I didn't know he was this young. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's-
mean?
that's
I was
the
like,
other
God
thing.
damn, like these are
You're
like
right.
these are like weathered raps. You know, I've weathered raps, but like
No, I mean whether
these are
like
like
sentiments or
yeah,
or
like
yeah,
kind
no,
of mature.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I was like, whoa.